So Mehdi Hasan went on Piers Morgan's show and debated the former IDF spokesperson. So this guy's name is Jonathan Kulinski. Interesting name. All right, so as you're about to see, he handed him his ass on a silver platter. Let's watch, and then we'll break it down.
You were spokesman for a government that contains people like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, open racists, prosecuted for inciting terrorism. So we're going to talk about lectures. You should keep your lectures to yourself and be embarrassed for the government you served. As for you living in the region, the problem is not you living in the region. The problem is the army you served and the country you were a spokesman for illegally occupies other people's lands in the West Bank, in Gaza, in the Golan Heights, now in Lebanon again. You are the country that is illegally occupying other people's lands. It's not about you living in your homes. It's about you taking other people's homes. It's about Israel now aiming to annex Gaza, according to Haaretz this week, that Netanyahu no longer has any interest in saving the hostages, as he never did, and is eyeing annexation of Gaza, to quote the Israeli newspaper Haaretz. And if we're going to talk about people dying on October the 7th, some of us have condemned that. Some of us oppose that. You only oppose attacks on Israel. You support attacks on non-Israelis. On Monday, let's say his name. Shaban Ahmed, 19 years old. No. You don't get to interrupt me. Sorry, you do not get to interrupt me. You have to get taking the high ground on interruptions. You'll come back in. Piers will bring you back in. I'm going to finish my point uninterrupted. Otherwise, don't be a hypocrite, as well as someone who represents fascists. A 19-year-old young man, Shaban Ahmed, was a software engineering student.
You're the one who's
can I finish my sentence, Piers, or is it going to be one way?
Jonathan, just wait, Jonathan.
Piers,
I will bring you.
Piers, you can't tell me not to interrupt, otherwise this conversation will.
No, Mehdi, finish your point, and I'll bring Jonathan in.
Oh, please don't threaten us, Mehdi.
Don't worry, Piers, I will.
So desperately.
Okay, Mehdi, finish your point.
A 19-year-old. You keep interrupting, Jonathan. People can see what a hypocrite you are. 19-year-old student, Shaban Ahmed, software engineering student at Al-Azhar University. Jonathan's military destroyed his university, destroyed his house, displaced him, made him homeless 5 times over the past year. On Monday, the world, we all watched him burn to death thanks to Israelis bombing the area outside the hospital. He was on an IV, on a bed, in a tent. He burned to death. His mother died. 2 maybe 3 other people died. I'm not sure how Jonathan still comes on these shows and defends that kind of barbarism and open war crimes. I'm not sure how Jonathan sleeps at night watching people burn to death thanks to the military that he served and is now being investigated both at the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court.
Damn. So, perhaps I don't know if I should even let this cat out of the bag, but here we go. Nonetheless, I will. I was actually invited to be the one to debate this guy. And the reason I said no is because in my mind, all I would be able to say to this guy's face is like, you're a modern day Nazi and you're responsible for the deaths of over 16,000 children, over 50,000 Palestinians, 90% of which are civilians. You've bombed hospitals and schools and UN human rights workers. You're starving an entire population. Like, in my mind, I was trying to imagine debating a literal Nazi in the early 1940s. Like, that's kind of what it would have been like. And it's a rare instance where I don't know if I would have been able to, like, control my anger and my emotions. And it would have I would have been red-faced and screaming at the top of my lungs. But you know what? I'm happy that I said no, because Mehdi handled it better than I think I could have in this situation. He did. And Piers Morgan's show in general, like, yeah, we get a lot of content from it. We break it down a lot. Like, I'm not sure the value of it. Like, I'd be okay with going on Piers Morgan's show if it's like a one-on-one debate, right? And to be fair, in this instance, they were offering me a one-on-one debate, but they were offering me a one-on-one debate with a modern-day Nazi, and that's a little tougher thing to kind of pull off or agree to, right? But, like, certainly those panels where there's, like, 4 people on the panel, and then he brings in, like, 2 or 3 other people, and it's like, you know, you got to get your point out in literally 20 seconds, or you get shouted over, and you can't really flesh out a thought, right? And so I'm not against it if it's like a one-on-one type thing, but I guess one-on-one against a modern-day Nazi is not something that I was particularly comfortable with. But again, I'm happy I said no because Mehdi did it, and Mehdi absolutely crushed this dude. And Mehdi exposed him for what he is, right? And look, I think part of my issue here is I don't know what's debatable. Like, these things are not debatable at this point, right? Like, I do have a hard time with the idea of debating that which is not debatable. If it's something that's actually debatable, that's actually fun to dive into it and try to convince the other person and lay out your argument. But if you're talking about something like literal war crimes on a daily basis and an extermination and annihilation campaign, I don't see what about that is, you know, in the gray area. I don't see that. All I see is black and white, in the blackest black and the whitest white. So just to put this in perspective for you, I know you guys are all familiar with the facts of the matter. You guys know that Israel has bombed schools and hospitals and power plants and UN buildings, and they tell Palestinians, hey, go to this safe zone, and then they bomb the safe zone. They bomb people on the way to the safe zone. You know that they're doing a starvation campaign. You know about the outbreak of various diseases because the conditions are super unsanitary. You know Gaza is an open-air prison. You know the death toll has absolutely skyrocketed. You've seen countless videos of kids being pulled out from underneath the rubble with their freaking heads blown off. You've seen all this. You're familiar with all this. But the thing that people often say in response to it, if they're unfamiliar with the details, is like, yeah, but intent matters, and are they really trying to kill civilians, right? This is what you hear all the time. But the answer to that is 100% absolutely yes. They are absolutely trying to kill civilians. Just to give you some of the comments from the top Israeli government officials, here we go. Here's one. Bring down buildings. Bomb without distinction. Stop with this impotence. You have the ability. There is worldwide legitimacy. Flatten Gaza without mercy. This time, there is no room for mercy. Here's one that we've heard many times. Those are animals. They have no right to exist. I am not debating the way it will happen, but they need to be exterminated. This attack is not enough. There should be more. There should be no limits to the response. I said it a million times. Until we see hundreds of thousands fleeing Gaza, we, the IDF, have not achieved its mission. Here's another one. Erase Gaza. Nothing else will satisfy us. It is not acceptable that we maintain a terrorist authority next to Israel. Don't leave a child there. Expel everyone. More. This is Israel's president, Isaac Herzog. It's an entire nation out there that is responsible. This rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved, it's absolutely not true. They could have risen up. They could have fought against that evil regime. So in other words, there are no civilians in Gaza. Another one, as a member of the Israeli Knesset. Destroy a neighborhood in Gaza every day the abductees are in their hands. If we blink, we run out of global credit. Every day that the abductees are with them, a neighborhood must be destroyed on its inhabitants. Without hunger and thirst among the Gazan population, we will not succeed in recruiting collaborators. We will not succeed in recruiting intelligence or in bribing people with food, drink, medicine in order to obtain intelligence. This stuff is not exactly subtle, is it? Here's another one. Another member of the Israeli Knesset. Nakba to the enemy now. This day is our Pearl Harbor. We will still learn the lessons. Right now, one goal, Nakba. A Nakba that will overshadow the Nakba of 48. A Nakba in Gaza and a Nakba for anyone who dares to join. Here's the Israeli defense minister. I have ordered a complete siege on the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we are acting accordingly. So in other words, even though there's only 30 or 40,000 Hamas members in Gaza, and there's 2.3 million people in Gaza, there were, not anymore, so many have died, we don't care. Treat the 2.3 million like they're the 30,000. They're all guilty enough. Humanitarian aid to Gaza? No electrical switch will be turned on, no water hydrant will be opened, and no fuel truck will enter Gaza until the Israeli abductees are returned. No one will preach morals to us. By the way, I should also point out Israel has rejected a number of deals for all of the hostages, including in October, after October 7th, by October 10th or whatever it was. They had said no to a deal to return every single hostage. More. I don't care about Gaza. I literally don't care at all. They can go out and swim in the sea. I want to see dead bodies of terrorists around Gaza. We cannot go back to the same conception. We need to exact a territorial price from them, including returning Jewish settlements at least to the north of the Gaza Strip. So, now, by the way, I should point out, there was just a rally the other day where I think Ben-Gvir was there, or Smotrich, one of the two was there. And the whole point of the rally was, yes, let's resettle Gaza, right? This is now happening in Lebanon, too, where Israel is trying to push Lebanese people north of the Litani River and occupy that land as well, right? So they want to resettle Gaza. They want to do to the West Bank what they did in Gaza, and they're also trying to take parts of Lebanon as well. This is what we're witnessing. It's an expansionist, settler colonial state. That's what it is. And it's the old school kind of settler colonial state. And you have rampant dehumanization of the other side across the board, and that's why you see colossal civilian casualties, because they don't care. They don't view them as actual civilians. And as we've discussed before, they bombed over 30 hospitals. I remember when the first hospital was bombed, they tried to do a propaganda campaign and say, no, actually the Palestinians bombed their own hospital. They tried to do that, and like half the media went for it, right? And then all the hospital bombings since, oh, would you look at that? You don't hear much from the crowd that was saying it wasn't Israel that bombed the hospital when they went on to bomb over 30 hospitals. There was just another massacre the other day that was on my timeline. Every day or every other day, there's a colossal massacre where countless innocent men, women, and children get killed. So yeah, forgive me if I didn't feel like it was a situation where I wanted to debate. Because, you know, you're up against the embodiment of pure evil. That's the bottom line. You really are. And that's a weird position to be in. When you're debating something that's completely and utterly not debatable, it's a tough one to handle. So I'm glad Mehdi agreed to do it, and I'm glad he smacked him down ruthlessly. Yeah, I don't know if I would have been able to handle myself and control myself and act properly in such a situation, because it genuinely feels like you're debating a modern-day Nazi, because you are. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.